Oh my, what a week it has been for Rigid. So here's the deal. We're going to talk about some of the controversy over the Rigid new tool release. If anybody is on Instagram, you've probably seen it. I'm going to give you some background, and I'm going to wait and see what all of you have to say. I'm really kind of excited and want to know your feedback on this. But basically what had happened is last week, Rigid came out and said, we're coming out with a brand new line, something that you've never seen before, for Rigid anyway. And what's up, mister? Hey, Amos, what's up? Famous Amos is in the house. So they came out last week and said, we're releasing this brand new line, and there's a lot of speculation. Was it outdoor power tools? Which I actually thought it was going to be outdoor power tools. It wasn't. The people wanted the band saw, people wanted a track saw. Nobody really knew what it was, but there was a lot of comments of people saying, I hope it's not a drill and an impact driver. All right. Well, if you've been following Rigid and the channel here, you know that two of the tools that were released were one was a drill, one was an impact driver. They are the new subcompact lines. And man, let me tell you, Rigid is really taking some heat, man, taking some backlash on their Instagram page, and I would imagine everywhere else. So this is why I'm bringing this up, and I'm really interested to see what you all think about sort of what's going on. But we were able to sign up. It was a day early that we were able to get the information if you sign up on a Rigid site, and they will send you the email the next day before anybody else got it saying, these are what the tools are. And they dropped it. And oh man, I'm telling you, if you haven't seen it, go to the Instagram page and check it out. I mean, they are taking some heat. Now, here's the reason why people were really upset with Rigid. Number one is everybody wants the bandsaw. No matter what video I do or what somebody's saying, Rigid's coming out with a new tool, people say they want the portable bandsaw. A lot of people are invested in Rigid. A lot of people aren't, but a lot of people are. So they have those 18-volt batteries, and they want to be able to use the tools that they need on the job. They want the track saw. They've been talking about it for years, and there hasn't been anything released for track saw. The other big thing that a lot of people see, and I got a little backstory on this, is that they wanted the cordless miter saw. Rigid used to have a cordless miter saw, and they got rid of it. And the reason why they got rid of it is because nobody was buying it. Everybody wants it back, but they weren't buying the cordless miter saw. So they discontinued it. They actually had one. So a lot of people wanted that back. So lo and behold, they released this information, and then I put the tools up on the channel, and there's been some comments saying people weren't happy about it. And the other reason why is because the subcompact, right? The base is still pretty big. The tools are very small. The base is still pretty big. So I get that, and I get why people were upset. Another reason why people are upset is because of the price. Now, I don't know if I can stream my, I used to use Google Hangouts, but it won't let me. The price for the drill, you get two batteries, the impact, the drill, you get the small charger. You're looking at $200. You can go out and buy a Milwaukee set for not much more. The new saw that they got out, the new bi-material saw, I think that's $139. They got a new stubby coming out. It's actually smaller than the Milwaukee, but again, for another $39 or $30 or whatever it is. I think the Milwaukee's $179, and the DeWalt or the Rigid, you're looking at like $139. So a few more dollars, you can go with the professional grade heavy duty stuff. And this is where a lot of people are upset. So I'm kind of curious, what are you all thinking about this new tool release? I know a lot of you wanted the outdoor power equipment. We didn't see it. And I'm going to scroll down through these comments here. I'm going to see what you guys are saying. Hi, John Rice and Noto and everybody. Daniel, hi, TRZ. I wished it was $149. Got the 3/8 stubby. We'll see if it'll keep it through. It was new 12-volt line. Laugh out loud. Milwaukee is king of the M12. So that's the other thing. And I'm glad you brought that up, Daniel. A lot of people were also upset that they didn't do like an M12 system with these new tools. Now, I'm going to give you some of my opinions here. Number one, the M12, Rigid has the smaller battery, the M12s or the 12-volt batteries, but you never hear about them. They really do need to up that line. If I was in that platform, I'd be pretty upset that they weren't releasing new tools. That said, with the 18 volt, I sort of like the 18 volt system because you're going to get a little bit more power. And I hate putting my M12 tools down. I like to be able to set something down and then pick it back up. And then on the M12 Milwaukee's, I got to put them down on the counter and I'm fudging around with them. That's just me, though. Other people might not care. So that was one of the big issues that people were having. They wanted that smaller battery system. Thomas Carroll, what's up? Daniel, what's up? Michael says, when are the new tools available? They're available now on the Home Depot site. From what I'm hearing, a lot of people are saying they're sold out already. You know, for a lot of hate, they're selling them. So what can you say? And then Mr. Nug said the M12 would have been better. Sean said, I have the RIDGID shop vac and it has been used for 20 years. Yes, the shop vacs are awesome. Hey, Armor, what's up? Daniel said it ends up like the Mega Max, which now being discontinued. Those won't last. Still bulky. Imagine a 9AH on those. Yeah, they are bulky. I like the Mega Max, but you know, here's the thing with the Mega Max. You get a lot of different tools or attachments with that Mega Max Max base, but you have to buy those tools separately, and they're not as powerful as the individual tools. So, for example, if you were to buy the Mega Max and then you bought the recip saw head, it's not going to be as powerful as the Octane recip. Just plain and simple. You just get more selection. Dan Soderholm says, smash that like button. I appreciate that. And Mr. Nug, you are amazing as well. So, hey, Tree Boss Mike, the new combo kits are in store. Saw them in 2 deeps yesterday, $199. Yep, $199. And that's where a lot of people are having issue with these, is that they're also pretty expensive. Now, here's my thought on this. And I was actually going to make a video, and I said, you know, let's just do a live stream, and we'll say hi to everybody. It's been a while since we've done a live stream. They needed this. RIDGID needed a smaller line. They really did. And if I can find this, you know what? Give me a second. I'm going to go grab this. All right. So here is the drill. Okay, this is a drill. It's not a hammer drill. It's a regular drill. And this thing is extremely small. You got some pretty good power. We tested this. We put it in the treated 6x6, I think it was, just to see what it could do. You wouldn't be using something like this with a treated 6x6, but we put the paddle bits on, and it's small. So up here it is. Down here, the base, it's not small. It's a little bit smaller than your regular M18s, your Octanes. The battery is a little bit smaller, just a hair though, just a hair. It's a newer battery. And then you can just throw it down on your workbench and then grab it. But where a lot of people are upset is they don't like that bigger base. If this was smaller, or if you had that M12 style, right, people would have been a lot more happy, they said. And you also got my nemesis, Makita, that has, you know, the subcompacts, which are not that expensive, and you can buy them as well. Now I'm seeing a question for the warranty, and the warranty is supposed to be just like every other RIDGID tool. You're supposed to get that LSA, lifetime service agreement. You have to register within the 90 days, I think it is, 3 months you have, and they're going to be covered. Now, a lot of people have issues with the RIDGID service agreement because you have to keep all your serial numbers and make sure that, you know, you keep all your information or they won't honor it. Now, I've had a couple things that, you know, the heater, I've had issues with the RIDGID heater, the propane heater. I, you know, sent it back and didn't have any issue. They actually stalked me for a little while trying to get that thing back, and I sent it back and they took care of it. But here's the here are my thoughts on this. RIDGID needed something smaller, but I will also say they need to expand their line. They have to. They have to do it because people that are invested in the RIDGID line need those tools. A lot of people either don't want to or can't afford to go out to a DeWalt and then a Milwaukee and then a Makita for this and that and that. If you're invested in a line, you need to be able to buy those tools in that line. Unfortunately, you're not really able to do that with the Rigid platform yet. They have a half decent platform, but it's not great, right? Oh, and the other thing is these are not Octane. That's another thing that got people going, right? They wanted to see that Octane on there, but they really need to do that. They need to step it up. Their thing is, okay, well, a lot of people don't buy the stuff that we put out there, right? So if we do a specialty tool, well, you know, it might look good for a couple of people on Instagram or YouTube saying that we want that, but will they buy it? And that's the thing. If they buy it, yeah. But just like the miter saw, they took it off the market. They took it off the market because it was not selling. It would be nice. And I'm going to be honest with you. I was bummed too. When I had seen that there was a new tool line coming, I really wanted to see some outdoor power equipment. And whether or not Emerson allows them to do that or not, I don't know. They might not. You know, AEG has it over there in Australia. It's the same brand, right? It's basically RIDGID. They have it. Bring it over here so people with the Octane batteries and all this stuff can go out and spend the money on their platform and not have to worry about the DeWalt or the Milwaukee or whatever other tool that they need. They can buy it right there in their platform. All right, let's go through some of the comments here real quick. Tree Boss is saying 149. So that was the issue. They wanted the lower price. I think that they're priced too high. 199. You do get the 2 AH batteries, 2 of them. I think they're a little bit high. You can go $30, $40 and buy, you know, Milwaukee or somebody else. So they definitely need to bring that price down. Thomas says, everybody show love to TRZ and share this stream. Well, I appreciate it, Thomas. Let's see. I wish RIDGID would come out with a weed eater, chainsaw, etc. That was one of the things that everybody wanted to see was the outdoor power tools. I would have bet anything. I would have bet my Mountain Dew right here that they were coming out with power tools or outdoor power tools, and they didn't. I was bummed out. I'm not gonna lie, I was bummed. Dan saying hi to Amos. Daniel says, I paid $190 for a Octane hammer drill, 6-mode impact driver, a 6 and a 3 Octane battery, and a charger for $190. I'll send you a pic later. All right. Yeah, DM me. Christopher says, what folks need to understand is that RIDGID TTI do a lot of research before they make a decision like this. They talk to a lot of real users and gauge the users. They will put the research into this. And Christopher is correct. You know, from what people are using, you know, they're getting feedback from that. You know, these people are pretty smart. That said, I will agree with the other people saying, I'm sort of getting burned out of the drills and the impacts. We do a lot of them on the channel. I want to see something big, right? I want to see something that says, wow. And I think it was built up too much. I think that, you know, people started seeing this email and VCD Construction with the $10. What's up, guys? Thank you very much. That was very kind of you. I think that people were building this up, and I think they were just really excited and saying to themselves, man, you know, this is going to be awesome. And then it was another drill and impact driver. And I think people just got upset and it just started taking it out. I'm telling you, you should see some of the comments on the channel over there. They are really taking a beating over there. Chick said, I don't want another battery platform. RIDGID need new tools, no more drills, something different like staple gun, small blower, hot glue gun. Yes. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to say this as well. They also have Ryobi, right? Ryobi, RIDGID under the TTI name. So a lot of people are going to say, you know, hey, they got them in Ryobi, but it goes back to my point. RIDGID users want those tools in their platform. They don't want to go out and buy the Ryobi. And let's face it, if you bring a Ryobi to a job site, you're going to get laughed at, right? RIDGID, I see a lot more of it on the job site. A lot of the contractors that I bring in, you know, a lot more are using the RIDGID. They like the lifetime service agreement, but they need those tools. Now, I cannot tell you, but I will say this. A lot of the stuff that I'm hearing people wanting, the track saws, you know, the framing nailer, all this stuff. I'm just hearing through the grapevine, whether or not it's true or not, everything that people are asking for, they will get. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just saying. What people are asking for, they will get. Okay? That's all I can say. And whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. It's just what I'm hearing. Okay? Let's see. Amos says, John Rice, I'm well, thank you. Oh, everybody's saying hi to everybody. Thomas Carroll said it looks similar to the Gen 4X Fuga compact drill that's a bit bigger, but has similar power. Yeah, and then Treeboss says save your receipts. Yeah, and laminate them. Yeah, because you're gonna need proof with the LSA. It's not like Husky Tools or Craftsman, whether or not they're still the same or not, where you can walk in and say, it's broke, and they replace it or fix it. You know, you got to call them up and say, hey, listen, this is my serial number, and it's kind of a pain. It will work for you, but you got to keep your information. Handcrafted by Trey is in the house, and so is Brad's workbench. Yeah, so Handcrafted by Trey wants that track saw. A lot of people want the track saw. Ponster said RIDGID needs to show some love to their customers and release outdoor power equipment. I am right there with you with the outdoor power equipment. I agree 100%. I think they need it. I think if you have these batteries for your tools, you should be able to use them. But I think that Emerson, from what I had told RIDGID very long ago, about a year ago, and I'm just a tool reviewer, right? So what do I know? I'm not a marketing guy. I don't know what everybody wants. I can just hear what the subscribers say they want. And I had told RIDGID probably over a year ago, you need to bring outdoor power equipment to the masses. You need to get the stuff there. It would sell. I think it would sell. And Emerson, I don't think will let them. I don't know. Maybe they just want to stay within the drills and the impacts, but they got to expand that line. What's up, New Jersey? I'm just going down through questions here. All Mike says scan them or copy them receipts. Yep, do that. Make sure you have them. Conan Man says don't forget to press the like button. Helps the channel. It absolutely does. I appreciate that. John Rice still alive, so no real complaints. Well, that's good to hear. Heart Cordless Tools came out 6 months ago, and Brad's workbench is not lying. Heart Tool, which is also under TTI, has the outdoor power equipment, right? They have the blowers, and I use their impact. I got their impact right here. It's a little bit bigger. I don't know if you can see it hanging up on the wall there. It's right there. We did some testing with it. It's a okay homeowner brand, right? I wouldn't use it to change lugs off the truck, but I mean, it's okay. But you're right. They came out and they just started swinging, and they were throwing all these power tools and outdoor power tools. So yeah, this is why I think people are getting upset, because they want these specific saws. If you want to take the brand serious, you have to have serious tools. You have to have the track saw. That is probably the second most requested thing. The most requested thing that I see online, whether it's here on this channel from you, on their Instagram page, on the cordless bandsaw, which I do believe is coming sooner than later, but they need to have this stuff. They need to. But they also needed these tools. I'm telling you all, you know, if you look at some of the other tools up here, I got the RIDGID, the impact wrench. No, not the impact wrench, the impact driver, the Octane impact driver. I had told you I didn't care for it. When I first started using it, it was underpowered. I thought maybe it was a fluke. Send it back and say, hey, listen, guys, it's not right. Send another one. So they sent over another one because RIDGID, you know, they supply us with a lot of these things, or we wouldn't be able to see them. How do you think we were the first ones to be able to get the subcompacts up on the channel? We were the first ones to have it up on YouTube, right? It was because of them they helped out. But I sent it back and said, hey, listen, it's underpowered. I sent another one over, and it was underpowered, and it was also pretty bulky. So one of my main complaints with the RIDGID, when me and VCG did a tool duel or a tool test raw, I went out to Philly over there, and I took the Octane hammer drill up against the Milwaukee. The Milwaukee crushed the RIDGID, but the RIDGID was like 3 times the size of the Milwaukee. I got them both, you know? So they needed smaller tools. This is a must. Whether or not you hate what they came out with, they needed these tools. They needed something smaller. Whether or not the base could have been a little bit smaller, yeah, okay, I'll agree with you on that. The base, and I even said that in the review video, the base could have been smaller, right? But they needed smaller tools, because if you're somebody, just a homeowner, and you go out and you see a Ryobi that is smaller than some of the RIDGID, or, you know, a Makita, or a Milwaukee that has smaller tools, you're going to go with those tools because the Rigid were so bulky. So they needed this. It's not as powerful as the Octane lines by far, but they definitely needed smaller tools. Hopefully within the next couple of years, they can add more power to them, and get them up to par where the Makitas are, up to par where they're never going to get up to par with Milwaukee. Milwaukee just won't allow that. But they might get up to par with DeWalt's or other people that, are selling the smaller tools. So they needed this. And, it's just crazy, man. They're taking some real heat. Piston said, Power Tools is an overcrowded field. DeWalt, Milwaukee, Makita, Bosch, Metabo, Tabo, HPT, Hilti, RIDGID. There's a lot of them. And there's a few major players, right? You got the Milwaukees, the DeWalt's, the Makitas, Makita. And, there's a bunch of them out there. But, I think they need it, but they also need to up their game. There's nothing else I can say about it. Let's see here. VCG Construction. Can we see Milwaukee Chainsaw versus some other brand? That's what Mr. Nug is asking. Come on, VCG. Can you do that for them? I'm scrolling down here. I'll say it again. Buyers need to do their own homework before selecting a brand. How can you be angry about a line not having tools they don't have when you got into the platform? And that is a great point, Mike. I think what happens is a lot of people, and this is just my opinion. A lot of the stuff that I say on this channel is just my opinion, whether you agree with it or not, but what happens is if you're younger or just getting into the trades. So for example, when I started doing body work, when I was younger, I was out of high school. I said in the videos before, I used to look at the glass Craftsman cases at Sears, and I would see these tools and be like, man, I want every single one of those tools, but I couldn't. So I would go with something a little bit cheaper, right? And I think that's where RIDGID's at. They might go in and say, hey, listen, I need a drill and an impact. Makita's too expensive. DeWalt's too expensive. Ryobi is a homeowner, and Milwaukee is too expensive. So let me try these RIDGID. And then they start growing that, that tool collection. And then all of a sudden, when you get to the point you're making a little bit more money and you need that track saw or that bandsaw, that's where they're running into the issue. They're not able to get it. So I agree with what you're saying 100% about that. But I can also understand the other side of the fence where they're saying, hey, listen, I started buying into you. I started using your tools. You got to start releasing other things. But I do agree with you. Mouse is sticking. Piston said Milwaukee is the only company that sees 12 volt as a legit tool line. So, there's a couple M12 tools that I love. I go with the 18 volt as much as I can. Specialty tools, mostly from the Milwaukee. I like it. Some people don't. They're not buying into the 12 volt system. Tree Boss says because 2020, Mike Morgan and a lot of us use in multiple platforms, and a lot of people do. People can't wait. They have adapters. You can get a bandsaw, use RIDGID batteries on Ryobi with the adapter, and that's true. And let's see here. Concrete saw Milwaukee would be a cool vid. Mr. Nugs is requesting. TRZ, like you said, these new tools just might be a sprinkle, and they may hit us with a large storm of expanded platform. So here's what I'm saying, and I'm making a prediction now. You're going to see a lot of tools this year from RIDGID, and I could be 100%. You can come back to this video, 4 months from now and be like, you're wrong. We didn't see any of that. What I think, though, is I think this year a lot of the stuff that you want to see is going to hit the shelves. I think the big release, the subcompact, was a smaller drop, and there's a bigger picture. That's just my opinion. I think you're going to see the bandsaws. I think you're going to see, the portable bandsaws. I think you're going to see a track saw. I think you're going to see all of this stuff coming. I think this is going to be a big year. I also think that it really slowed down this year. I think these things were going to be out months ago, but with everything going on in the world today, the craziness, you didn't see them. And I think a lot of their tools weren't able to be pushed out like they were supposed to be this year. So I think towards the end of this year, you're going to see a lot of different tools that everybody's asking for that you're not seeing now. So I would tell people in the RIDGID platform, And don't get me wrong, I was kind of disappointed too when I was like, drill and impact, all right, but I think you're going to see a lot of those tools that you want. Mike Morgan, because people want to see the line they're in grow just like the competitors. Yeah, listen, people get into a tool line and they want that tool line to grow, whether or not they're the best or not. They feel that their tool line is the best. If you're a Craftsman, you think that Craftsman's better than Snap-on. And if you're in Snap-on, you're hating on Harbor Freight, and Harbor Freight people are hating on Snap-on, whatever. You want your tool to be the best brand out there. And no tool brand is the best out there. Every tool brand has something better than the other, right? So, DeWalt might do things better than Milwaukee in some cases, and vice versa. Milwaukee might do better than Makita, and Makita might do better than DeWalt. Not every brand is perfect. There are tools in other brands that are, but the point is, at least they have those tools. And I think that's where RIDGID needs to kind of sit back and say, we need to get these tools out a little bit quicker and make people happy. At least with the bandsaw. You put a bandsaw out there, people are going to be like, all right, so they're listening to us. So they definitely need to get a bandsaw out there. The tool mat said smashed. Appreciate that, buddy. BCG says, you tell him, Omar. Tree Boss says, plus Cordless RIDGID is made by TTR, which owns Ryobi in Milwaukee. Nothing stopping RIDGID from expanding. Think of it as a good, better, best system. Yep. Yeah, everyone, please press the like and sub. I appreciate that, Mr. Nugs. I like saying your name, buddy. Tree Boss Mike, that's not an apples to apples analogy, my man. I don't know if you're talking to me. Kind of man said, Clint, they're saying the 7¼ miter box is coming out this year, but see it, I maybe have to get it. Ends on the pricing because it'd be cheaper than Milwaukee. And that's where another thing is, people buy the RIDGID because, it's cheaper than a Milwaukee, but you're still getting some pretty quality tools. Is RIDGID going to phase out the Octane line? That's from John Rice. I very seriously doubt it, John. I think that RIDGID Octane line is doing very well for them. And I don't see it going anywhere. I just think that, a lot of people are saying that your tools are a little bit bulky. And I'm one of them. I say it on the reviews, it's a little bulky. And I think they heard that and they said, we need a subcompact line. That's why I'm actually excited about the subcompacts. I mean, they're very small compared to the other drills. So if you just want to grab this and go, you can. I mean, it's a very small, and the impact somewhere, it's even smaller. But I do not think that they're going to phase out the Octane. Now watch, tomorrow they'll probably phase out the Octane, but I really do not think that they're going to do that. Everybody likes something different for a reason. Otherwise, we would all just buy Milwaukee and go for the hype train. Perfect point, Craig. I agree with you. A strong 1,600 inch-pounds right angle impact would be nice. I've also heard people mention that as well. Pawn. Joe Palm says, TRZ, thanks for the great videos. You definitely help consumers choose tool brands. Thanks. It does look easy. Stay safe. Wait, where'd it go? It doesn't look easy. Stay safe and have a great week. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. And you too, my friend. Tom says, Mike Morgan, you're comparing your partner's behavior to a tool company selling tools. Don't think it's that good of an analogy. Okay, so yeah, you guys must be talking to each other. Hey guys, thanks for all the great videos and hard work. Thank you, Craig. I really do appreciate that. My analogy works too. Both good, better, best. TTI competes with DeWalt, Makita, Metabo, Bosch. Nothing wrong with competition. We all win in the scenario. And I will agree with that. Let's see here. It says, LOL, Mike, we don't marry into tool platforms. If wipes were as easy to get rid of as tools, more of us would be doing it, brother. Yeah. I'm not going to agree with that because I don't want to get in trouble, but I'm picking up what you're putting down, Tree Boss. Mike Morgan says, love competition, but I wonder how much TTI worries about diluting their other more profitable value lines. So here's the thing, and that's a good question. A lot of people bring up as well. Okay, so if RIDGID comes out with this tool, then it's going to hurt the Milwaukee bottom line. I don't think that's the way it is, and I'll tell you why. RIDGID doesn't have a bandsaw, right? Ryobi does. Okay. So Ryobi has a bandsaw. If you're a Rigid fan, just because Ryobi has a bandsaw, if you wanted that bandsaw from Rigid and you're in the Rigid line, you're going to go out and buy that Rigid bandsaw. You're not going to step down and buy the Ryobi. You're going to buy that Rigid. And that's the same thing. If you're in the Milwaukee platform, right, you're going to stay within that Milwaukee platform. You already have the batteries. That's the biggest thing, the batteries. If you got batteries for the tools, you're going to stay in that line. That's just how I see it. I could be wrong. But I would think that if Milwaukee has one, the Milwaukee fans are going to stay with Milwaukee. And I think if you're a Rigid fan, you're going to be happy that you got a new bandsaw. Don't forget, a lot of Makita tools are not in the U.S. market, says Conaman. Brad's Workbench says, how's the MakerTube channel doing? It's been slow. It's been growing in subscribers. I've been trying to catch up with everything here. This channel here is the top priority for all of you, and just making sure that we're getting the new tools out. But this week I already have something planned on the MakersTube channel, so if you're not a subscriber there, go check it out. We got the CNC videos, and we're going to start doing some 3D printing over there and stuff. So yeah, there's 2 channels that we have. But thanks for asking, Brad. I appreciate that. And Brad also has a great YouTube channel, so if you have a chance, go check him out. And VCG as well. They got a great channel over there, as you probably already know. Tree Boss Mike said, "LOL, like we don't marry." Okay, we already talked about that. Love competition. Yep, we talked about that. Wow, Craig, $20 holler. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much, man. That's really nice. Mike is in the house. Craig, I appreciate that, buddy. Thank you. I agree. I have Rigid tools. I don't want a bunch of different chargers, batteries in my shop, but I'll be forced to if I want tools that they don't sell. And there you go. So, and then Amos also said it would be nice if the new Rigid tools were to have a dual power system, battery plug-in. Yeah, I can see the battery plug-in, but I don't know, Amos, if they would do like a double battery, because Makita pretty much has that locked down. There might be some type of contingency on there, or some type of patent. I'm not really sure. I'll have to look into that, or somebody also knows. Longevity by VCD Tourism. What's up, brother? How you doing? Longevity, I appreciate you stopping by, buddy. Tree Boss, he said, I think that the issue, Mike, they focus a lot on Ryobi. So Ryobi has a ton of tools, and they constantly come out with them. You're right. They do focus a lot on Ryobi. I think they need to focus a little bit more on the Rigid brand. You know, why that is, maybe because Rigid's a licensed company from Emerson. You know, that could be it. Where TTI, I'm not sure if they flat out own them. I think they do. So yeah, I mean, he's not wrong there. I mean, they're focusing a lot on Ryobi, but you know, if they want that Rigid line, if they want people to say, I see a lot of people saying they want to jump ship from Rigid now after these tools have been released. And you know, I get it. You know, I do. They're taking some heat over there. They really are. I feel for them, but you know, what can you do? You have to bring out what people want, and it just is the way it is. I say that with the thought that Ryobi is the volume value platform and Milwaukee is a high-end margin platform, Rigid is the middle child. No, you're right, Mike. Rigid basically is it's like a prosumer. Everybody says prosumer. I see a lot more Rigid on the job sites now, a lot more than I ever used to before. You know, up to their Gen 4, I never really took Rigid all that seriously. And then the Gen 5 came out, and I was like, damn, I was like, this is all right. You know, I really liked it. And the power was there. And then the Rigid Octane. There's a couple hit or misses. I didn't care for the impact driver, the Rigid Octane impact driver. I think it's way, way underpowered. I really do. I was bummed out with that. But the other stuff I love. You know, it's bulky, like I always say, and this is why I think they need this smaller line. But, you know, to each their own. Let's see here. The more likes, the more tools, and the more Michael Bay effects. Dan, the man. Yeah. Yeah, I do like my effects. You got to keep it fun on the channel, man. Just blow stuff up and put fireballs in the video for no apparent reason. Let's see here. I don't want to miss anybody's comments, but sometimes I might say, please don't take it personal. Terrible T, the pricing difference is not really enough between Ryobi, Rigid, and Milwaukee. Ryobi needs to drop the price. I'm going to be deciding on a system to invest in soon. Ryobi. So he's saying that the Ryobi needs to drop their price. Tree Boss says, hey, Clint. My thing's jumping around on me. Tree Boss, where'd you go? Hey, Clint, you think Rigid will introduce more dual battery tools? Well, so the dual battery tools, so for example, you got the grinder, and then I'll give you a perfect example. The new shop vac that I reviewed, it's a dual power. It doesn't make a difference if you have two batteries in there. It's not going to give you more power. Like the Makita does with the 36 volt line. You put two batteries in, two 18 volts, you get 36. The Rigid is simply for longer use, longer runtime. So you put two batteries in there. It has nothing to do with power, but it has to do with the longer runtime. It depends on what tool you need. So the vacuum, I think it works excellent. I always put two batteries. I use that vacuum a lot. Love that vacuum on the CNC actually. And you put those two batteries in. I always put two batteries in, but a lot of the tools probably you won't see that just because they're not actually working in conjunction with each other. They're just allowing for longer runtime. So you might not. I don't see a lot of double battery tools coming out, and I could be wrong. Again, tomorrow they'll probably introduce like 53 double battery systems. Rigid will not be a platform. Rigid will not be a platform by the end of the decade, Piston says. Dan Soderholm says, Konoman Studio, hopefully soon. Everybody's saying hi. Konoman says, Clint, Rigid doesn't get a lot of new tools like Ryobi and Milwaukee. Now Hart bridges some of the red-headed stepchild of TTT or TTI. Yeah, so, Hart has been with TTI for many, many years. They're just now starting to get noticed because Walmart picked them up, and they're basically the exact same thing as Ryobi, just a different color. We've actually done a couple tool duels where the Ryobi was a little bit more powerful. So it's almost like you get that step down, right? You got the Rigid, or you got the Milwaukee, you got the Rigid, you got the Ryobi, and then you got the Hart. But like the last comment said, you're seeing a lot more tools for Hart coming out, such as the outdoor power equipment. And this is why I think, again, this is just my opinion. I could be wrong. You go into Walmart, and you want a leaf blower, you want a weed eater, and you want a circular saw. That's all they offer, Walmart. And a lot of people that go shopping for tools at Walmart, they're not the tool heads like we are, right? You go into Home Depot, you want a leaf blower, you got a DeWalt to choose from, you got the Makita to choose from, the Milwaukee to choose from, the Echo to choose from, the Ego to choose from. You got a million different leaf blowers literally lined up next to each other where you don't have that at Walmart. So Walmart's saying, okay, we're going to sell you exclusively here at our Walmart. And a lot of people are going to go in not knowing the difference between Hart, Ryobi, Milwaukee, Rigid, whatever, and say, oh, I need one of those, and they're going to pick it up. So I think they're going to do very well with that brand, but that's why I think they're coming out with so many tools, because the people that just need a leaf blower don't know any better. They're going to walk into Walmart and they're going to say, okay, here it is. This looks cool. I like the white and blue. I'm going to grab this. And they'll probably do pretty well. But that's just because they don't know that the other brands exist or what the other brands are. People on this channel know, that you can go out and buy 53 different leaf blowers if you want. Terrible says, Rigid is building Cobalt for Lowe's. Cobalt might be better choice for serious DIYer, but I have had an issue at Lowe's stores and less issue at Home Depot. Probably different where you live. No, it is no different from where I live. Sorry, I like some ado. The issue with Lowe's is I used to have a Lowe's next to me when I lived in Pennsylvania. I did not have a Home Depot. I moved over to Ohio about 7 years ago. I did not have a Lowe's. I had a Home Depot. So I shopped at both stores exclusively during those times. And I can tell you Home Depot, I like way better than Lowe's. Lowe's, I always felt like I wanted to buy curtains, and Home Depot, I always felt like I wanted to buy tools. And that was always the difference for me. And the people always seemed a lot nicer at Home Depot. Now, this will vary from store to store. But if there was a Lowe's right next to a Home Depot, I would never walk into a Lowe's. I pass one on the way from work all the time. I don't even stop. And it's just no reason. I just like Home Depot. Let's see here. 10, what's up? It says, I wouldn't consider myself a Rigid fan, more of a, I only got into it because the miter saw was cheap. Exactly, like we were talking about. The DeWalt's slow pace allows me to keep money in the pocket. Now, DeWalt, yeah, that's a great example, right? So Milwaukee had just been pushing a lot of stuff out, and everybody's like, "Oh, I need that tool," and they're just right where this could be a rigid game plan as well. That DeWalt releases stuff a lot slower than Milwaukee, so like 10 saying, instead of dropping $5,000, or if you don't have $5,000, you just pick this tool up and pick that tool up. DeWalt's kind of releasing them out more slowly, and you're able to afford those down the line, and you can get everything, right? You just save up a little bit, another tool drops, save up a little bit. So that's a great point, and I never really thought about that. So yeah, it's a great point. Ridge is building Cobalt. Yeah, okay, we read that. Sorry, no, not double battery, one battery, or be able to plug in a cord like Metabo has on certain tools. It be especially nice for grinders. And DeWalt has that as well. We did the miter saw review, Amos, and they got the plug in. Me personally, here's my thoughts on that. Rigid, they do have a couple plugins, like for example, the heater. You can plug that in, or you can run it straight off battery. I think that's really the only one, though, I can think of off the top of my head. I might be wrong. Yeah, I think that's like the only tool Rigid has. But if I use battery, I use battery. I like my table saw, the Milwaukee. When I take that out, or the DeWalt, I never take the cord out with me. That's just because I have extra batteries. If you have extra batteries, that's not a problem. If you don't have extra batteries, it's probably a good thing to have that cord option, just because now you're waiting for your batteries to charge. So, I guess it depends on what batteries you have and how many you have. I wouldn't consider myself only because of my. Okay, we talked about that. I went from Cryobi to Rigid, and I love every tool they have, says Gerald. Yeah, there's definitely a difference there. Ryobi, I say it a lot. I have a lot of their tools. I think they're very innovative. I think they come out with things that other platforms don't have, and I like them for that. But as far as it goes with quality, I don't think I've ever had one break on me. Yeah, I mean they've all been working fine. Their vacuum is excellent. I love that thing. But you want more professional tools. So, Rigid's the next line up. And other than the bulkiness, I keep looking at the Rigid jigsaw over here. I love that tool. I mean, some of the stuff they come out with is great stuff. Omar says, smash the like, guys. Appreciate that, buddy. And yeah, my thing's, let's see. John Thomas says, I could see Milwaukee, Makita, or Skillsaw coming out with a battery-powered table saw. Milwaukee does have the battery powered table saw, which is awesome. Makita, I don't think they do. I think Milwaukee might. I don't think, does Makita have one? Does anybody know? I don't think Makita does have one. And then the comment just jumped on me. Okay, Skillsaw probably will come out with a battery powered tool with their new battery line. That new worm drive battery they have. So yeah, I would not be surprised if you've seen that. Okay, let me see here. Eddie Smallhorn in the house. How you doing, buddy? Pros for Bosch Green Line was sometime made in Romania and not in China. Not really sure. Gerald says Lowe's equals curtains. Yeah, that's how I always felt. Listen, Lowe's is Lowe's. What can you do? I mean, they got some good stuff. I'm just a Depot guy. That's why I started going with them. I'm trying not to skip over comments here. I'm trying to find the questions here. So please do not think that I'm ignoring you. I see all of them here. And if you do have a question, please leave me a comment in the comment section after this video is done. The fan is hybrid too, Jeb says. Okay, perfect. Thank you. I don't have the fan. Eddie Smallhorn says, hey, Dan, the man. It says, hey, Clint, you checked out the new DeWalt Power Detect line. I got the recip with the new AH battery. Milwaukee still beats it, though. I haven't tried the 20-volt Power Detect, but the Milwaukee's still beating it. And I'm guessing, is that the Super Sawzall? Jeff says, if TTI went to be smart, they could take the old Milwaukee brushless tools they have replaced or updated and put them in rigid Octane bodies, which a lot of people seem to think that is what they do. I don't think that's the case, but I think a lot of people feel that a lot of the leftover Milwaukee stuff from the last generation gets put into the rigid bodies. I really don't think that's the case. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's it. Handcrafted by Trey says panel light. I can see Milwaukee Makita skill saw coming. Okay, we already talked about that. Rigid is great. I'm a carpenter, and the X4 and X5 set holds up really well. My parents use Milwaukee, and it's a little better, but not by much. So there you go. And that's like I had said. You see a lot more professionals using the rigid than when they did not hold up well, or they just weren't powerful like the Gen 3s. Gen 4s were a little bit better, but when the Gen 5 hit, it sort of changed the game for them. I feel like I definitely think that they really stepped it up, and then the Octane stuff definitely much better. But 18-volt green line DIY has only a few tools. Michael says, "Hey, Dark Magic's in the house. What's up, buddy?" Michael says, "Compare it, for example, for Ryobi, the USA Mechanica USA. Will rigid enter the high torque?" Half-inch impact wrench like the Milwaukee. Yeah, it's possible. I've seen a couple other people asking for a high torque impact, and I don't know. I don't know if the demand's there for rigid, but it could be. I have seen people request it on their site. So through all of the negative comments, you see one, with just a simple request. Tree Boss says, yes, my super sawzall beat the new Power Detect. Why DeWalt didn't include Orbital is a head scratcher. Their blade change is awesome though. Yeah. So when we did the 60-volt new flex volt saw, that blade changer is awesome. It is really, really awesome. The orbital action though, just not there. A lot of people say they don't like it because it's too much vibration, but I say if you're trying to cut something really quick, you kind of need that orbital action when you're going through like demolition projects, treated wood, whatever. You need that orbital action. And whether or not people like it or not, when you do a video, people are like, oh, why do you compare this to, you put the orbital on, and then you didn't put the orbital on this one because it didn't have it. Well, here's the deal. If you're cutting through a treated 6x6, right? People want to know which one's faster. It's just the end of the deal. People want to know, okay, is this one faster than the other, right? End of story. People, it's time and money, right? The longer something takes you to do, the more money you're wasting. If you're able to cut through that treated 6x6 faster, and the orbital action is helping you, well, that means that, orbital action is pretty important. But I see a lot of people say that orbital action don't mean anything. Well, all right, well, that's fine. You're going to take a little bit longer, but if you don't like it, then buy the other one. What can I say? Rigid full-size drill still is one of the most powerful in the industry, says Gregory. I've been hearing the same thing, people saying it's going to sell all their rigid tools. Yeah, Thomas Carroll said the same thing, that a lot of people are saying that they're going to sell their rigid tools. Some people are upset. Gregory Brown, I'm gladly trading in my full-size impact for one of the new subcompact impacts. The rigid impact is very powerful, but heavy and cumbersome. I'm glad they made the subcompact 18-volt platform. I agree, Gregory. I think they needed the subcompact. And I think you're going to see other tools, guys. I really do. I think you're going to see other things hit the market this year. I think that they're a little bit pushed behind, a little bit slower releases than they would have, but they definitely needed these smaller tools. They just had to have them. Everybody else is bringing down the size of their tools. Rigid needed to do the same thing. And I know it's probably not the tool that everybody wanted to see first, but if anything, they should have came out with a bandsaw or a track saw first, then released these tools. But again, I'm not in marketing. They're looking at numbers. I'm not. I don't know. That's just my opinion. John says the Octane reciprocating saw is great, smooth, and the orbital action makes a real big difference. Absolutely. Daniel says rigid will be my main 18 line. Can't go to the M8 line, but Milwaukee M12 got me for their 12-volt line. I think Milwaukee's probably, they are probably the best in the game when it comes to the 12 volts. Thomas Carroll, that's what I like this channel. You're one of the most original YouTubers out there. Well, I appreciate that, buddy. I try to be. I get some hate comments on my special effects videos, but it all makes fun. It makes these videos fun. So love them or hate them, you got to do something different, right? Papa Roy said, I came in late. What's the big problem with Rigid right now that everybody's upset about? I won't spend a lot of time, Papa, going over everything we talked about, but it's their smaller line. A lot of people are upset right now that they did not release tools such as the bandsaws. And you can rewatch this video here. They didn't release bandsaws. They didn't release, track saws and things that other people wanted. They released smaller drills and impacts, and a lot of people not happy with Rigid right now. And actually, like Thomas Carroll mentioned, are actually saying they're going to leave the line, which I don't know. I don't think they will, but they're just venting frustration. And I get it. John Ray said, but the power don't stand up when up against the new Octane set. I'll agree with that. It does not. And I think that's another issue that people are saying is that they're not as powerful as they need to be. But the way I look at it with these tools, and again, this is just my opinion, these tools here, I would use the subcompact way more than I reach for my rigid Octane, because the stuff I do might be something different than you do. If you're, taking lugs off, or if you're, smashing lags through a treated piece of wood or whatever you're doing, then you're going to go with the Octane, where I do a lot of the woodworking and I would use the smaller drill. So it really comes down to what the application is, what you're using it for. Does it have as much power as the Octane? No, not even close. And we'll do a tool video. I'll actually put the new impact up against the 18 volt Octane impact, and we'll see what it does. Mike Morgan said, if you're not cutting through thick wood, orbital doesn't mean much. It's all about chip removal from the kerf. Yep, agree, Mike. And yeah, you wouldn't use the orbital on metal. So some people might only be using a recip saw to cut metal. And that's a perfect example of what we were talking about. It all depends on your application, what you're doing for. Tree Boss Mike says, hey, Clint, with the NPS 20 being canceled, I know, I'm bummed. Is Milwaukee going to release new tools sooner? Or so? Do you know that they will introduce their new tools this year? So that is a great question, Tree Boss. So if you don't know already, and I posted it, that we were going to go to the NPS, and I was going to do the live streams. And then literally like a month later, I was like, oh, by the way, we're not going to NPS this year because of what's going on in the world today, right? I don't know. I don't know. What I would think is, with everything that's going on, they're probably not going to have the show. They said they're canceled indefinitely, not they just canceled, right? So they could hold the show later this year, but I don't think they're going to, and I'll tell you why. They want to release these tools. They're not going to wait, 4 or 5 months to release these tools just to get people out there. They're probably going to do something different. They probably won't have it this year, but I could be wrong. They might call tomorrow and say, hey, this thing's on. But I don't think they are. I think you're still going to see the tools this year. They're not going to hold back unless it's the framing nailer. They need to release that framing nailer. But I don't think there's going to be a show, but I still think you're going to see the tools. Michael, the wall costs arm and a leg in the EU. Rigid is non-existing here, and you can't buy it from the US and get it into the EU. Do taxes, import costs, let alone. So we have 230 volt and not the 110 volt. So hello from the US, Michael, number one. And number two, you were right. But yeah, a lot of people say that, not just the rigid tools, a lot of the other tools like Milwaukee and DeWalt and all that, you're trying to get them to other countries and they just cost an arm and a leg. And, it's not just the DeWalt. Daniel says, rigid LSA got me some complaint. How hard is it to get LSA on rigid tools? But not me. I'm out, bro. Take care. Glad I could help. Thanks, Daniel. I appreciate it, buddy. Gregory asked, do you have any insight if they'd ever do an outdoor tools like a hedge trimmer, weed whacker? We talked about that, Gregory. I wish they would. I told them a long time ago that they needed to come out with this stuff, and Emerson doesn't seem to want to do that. But they need it. They're going to need it. People want it. And I would not be surprised if you've seen it. Not maybe this year, but maybe next year, right? There's only so many drills and impacts you can come out with. I think you'll probably see it down the road. Do you have any insight? Oh, we already talked about that. I love my Octane drill, but it's about as big as a bus. And Jeb, you're 100% right there. Big. And that's why I believe they needed these smaller tools. Kind said Clint RIDGID had a nice compound miter saw and they took it off the market. Why? This is a great question, I think we covered that earlier, but they did have a cordless miter saw. They took it off the market because it wasn't selling. People weren't buying it. And I think they had it out before, the big battery cordless boom happened with the miter saws and the table saw. So I think if they put it back on the market, people might buy it now compared to then where that wasn't really a big thing. And people were saying battery power on a miter saw. What are you talking about? Right. And they probably just didn't buy it because of that. But I think if they released it again, I think it would, their miter saws are great. I have a 12-inch of theirs and it's awesome. I love their miter. It's corded, but I would love to see another cordless miter saw from them. Thomas says, I like my M12 fuel Makita subcompact and RIDGID Gen 5X. Tree Boss says, oh, that M18 framing nailer, aka the unicorn. I've seen it. It does exist. I don't know why it's taking them so long to release it. I've seen it. It's real. Smash that like button, guys, says Mike. Appreciate that, buddy. John said RIDGID is Atlas overseas. Just checking the website, 620 foot-pounds, breakaway torque from the 3/8 stubby impact. Crazy, right? Hard to believe. That stubby impact is actually smaller than the Makita impact, so that's pretty impressive. Obviously, the Makita is probably going to be a lot more powerful, but yeah, smaller. Tree Boss says, anyone wish Milwaukee would introduce a lawnmower? Tree Boss, so it's funny you mentioned that when we were at NPS last year, 2019. That was one of my big things. I was hoping they would do it. I was hoping they would release it. I thought it was going to be there. It was not there. I talked to a Milwaukee rep. They said they have one. It's just not at the show. I think that was a bunch of BS because they still haven't released it. But that being said, when I talked to Milwaukee about this last year, somebody had told me that they didn't think that they were going to release one. That stinks. I think they need to release one. They got the quick lock system, which is awesome. I love that quick lock system. I think it's great. They got the blowers. They got the other outdoor power equipment. Why not a lawnmower? DeWalt has a lawnmower. Makita has a lawnmower that takes 53 batteries. Why not everybody else? Why not Milwaukee? Milwaukee needs a mower, but I don't know if you're going to see one. You never know. Maybe down the road, but hold on, guys. That saw got great reviews too. DeWalt actually had to plug in options since the 24 NiCad tools. Yep. Okay. So they had it out. I think DeWalt was like one of the first, right? They had them out for a while. Joseph, how are you, dude? What's up, brother? How's everything going? It's going great, brother. Mike said, even if it was only a 7 1/4 miter. Yep. Amos says, Clint, you must have a lot of miter saws. I do, and I use them all. I'll be building my second shed this year. I'm building a deck. We're getting a pool, and I've tried to hold off on that money pit for many years, and because of everything that's going on in the world, and you can't go anywhere, the kids are bouncing off the walls. I need a pool, so I'll be building a deck around the pool, and they'll be getting some use. I'll put videos up. Gregor says, thanks for discussing this topic. I'm glad you were able to get your hands on this set from RIDGID. I'm excited to hear you'll be comparing this subcompact impact to their full size. Absolutely. We're going to be doing a lot of videos on these subcompacts just because I really do like them. I think they did a good job. And again, they're not as powerful, obviously, as the full size, but they were a needed tool. They had to have something smaller. Their other tools were just too bulky. Joe says, I'm waiting to see when Milwaukee comes out with the M18 belt sander. That would be nice. And let's see here. Michael said, in Europe, mostly you got Matebo, Makita, sometimes DeWalt and Milwaukee, and then there's a Golden Goose Hilti. Apart from you get cheap Chinesium tools or DIY like Ryobi. Thomas said, I'm sure Skill is coming out with the cordless Sidewinder. And Thomas Curl said, I had a lot of bad experience. Lowest, I don't shop on Lowe's. He don't shop there anymore. Dark Magic said, I'm going to sleep now. Have to work tomorrow. Stay safe. And with that, I think I do as well. Listen, everybody, I truly appreciate you stopping by. I hope this added some insight to what's going on in the world. If you've seen the negative comments on RIDGID, that's why. But I really do, at the end of the day, think they needed this. And I think you're going to see a lot more coming out from them that are going to make people happy. So I would say just wait a little bit. You know, if you're thinking about jumping brands, you know, I wouldn't jump brands. I think you're going to be fine. Oh, my light's going dead and everything. So listen, with that, everybody, I'm heading out. I truly do appreciate y'all stopping by and supporting the channel and the videos. And you guys are all great. So stay safe out there. And if you need anything, just reach out. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.